Now we are going to do an exercise which is about modeling a die. It's from an old tutorial that was well known in the old Blender's wiki, so the idea and the basic approach isn't from mine. Here we are going to do a simplified version of it. Let's create a new scene and name it properly, for example, die. Now let's make sure that the 3D cursor is in the center by doing Shift C and then Shift A, Mesh, Keep. Let's go to the object context and name this new object properly too. Naming the elements that we create will help us to keep the scenes tidy and to detect mistakes and reuse things more easily. In this case, we are going to use my own naming method, but is it visible that you develop your own? I name it obmesh, since it is an object from mesh type, and then die, because it has to represent a die. Press Tab over the 3D view to enter edit mode. We will have all vertices selected. Press A one or two times if they aren't, and let's press W and choose Subdivide. Then let's make appear the options which will allow us to specify about this subdivision, pressing F6 or with the tick key panel. In the number of cuts field, we enter 4. Now let's switch to the face mode using Ctrl, Tab and 3 to select the third option. We can do it also with the mouse, it's the same, and make a selection imitating the numbers placement in an actual die. In order to consolidate things already seen in past modules, put yourself the challenge to make the sum of opposite sides result 7 as it happens in a real die. When we have the selection done, we press Alt-E and choose individual faces from the options. Just after that, you will see that the new faces are moving, but just press Escape key. The extrusion is actually done, but since we pressed Escape, we cancelled the movement of the newly created faces. So they are in the exact same place than the original faces. We can tell that it's happening this thanks to those black tiny squares over the edges. Each of those squares indicates an existing face. And this is exactly what we were after. In order to scale each of the selected faces from their own center, we have to change the transformation pivot. We do it by pressing Ctrl and the normal dot, the one which is with the letters, or choosing the individual origins option right in this menu. Now type S0.8, enter. We just multiplied the faces perimeters to make them be an 80% from before. We type again Alt-E and choose again individual faces. But now we actually want the new faces to be moved, so we specify a numeric value. Type -0.1 and press enter. Press Tab to exit edit mode now, and then go to the modifiers context and let's add this one in the generate column, the subdivision surface. The modifier is linked to the object, although its effect shows up on the geometry. Pay attention to the visualization options. Disable the modifier during edit mode. Be also careful not to press the Apply button. It's also not necessary to put a higher value than 2 in the subdivision values. If we want the mesh to look smoother, this has nothing to do with the modifier, but with the shading mode of the mesh. Let's go to the T-key panel and in the shading section, press the Smooth button. Finally, go to the object data of the die object and name its geometry properly. Die geometry. And now in the outliner, which shows in a hierarchical way the data in the scene, you can switch this menu to current scene to see less information and see it more clearly. So in the outliner, you can identify the names we put to the die object and to the geometry. And by the way, remember to save the file often using Ctrl+S.